Hello, my fellow readers. This is I, Dark Symphony 777, with another fan fiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts on the story, and any future fan fictions you want me to read or review. And as always, this is my opinion. There, that's better. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, we are continuing the Super Koopa series with Super Koopa Land. It is the third of 4 stories in the tetralogy. And honestly, before I get into it, Super Koopa Land is something of an oddity. In terms of writing, it is much better than Queen of the Koopas, as well as Super Koopas, but although that one's kind of iffy on Queen of the Koopas because that one was reworked. I read the original version and then I read the reworked version. But it's in terms of actual plot, it doesn't really have anything going for it outside of a lot of foreshadowing for the final story in the series Super Koopa World. As a foreshadowing story, it's because you have to at least make the point substantial or important. But if you're just saying, these are. I mean, your mileage may vary on it. I thought the plot was just nothing. It was just a general malaise over the entire story that was just very boring. That's why it took as long as it did for me to read the story, because Queen of the Koopas was at least interesting in idea. Super Koopas was just short, so I can finish that pretty fast. And Super Koopa World is actually pretty good, so I'll probably be able to finish that pretty fast. But Super Koopa Land was just boring. It's just there. So, let's start with the plot. The plot actually starts with a flashback scene of Bowselta's childhood. Now, it's pretty obvious, by this point, Bowselta is the main character of the entire series. We're finally given some insight on how she kind of turned into who she is. I'll get more to that when we get to talk about her as a character. And so the plot officially starts with Bowselta and Bowser doing another attack on the Mushroom Kingdom. Instead of doing some overly complicated plot, they just go, so, you know what? Let's get our troops and just bum rush the castle. Let's just do that, which they do. Except for the fact Daisy, Mario, Wario, and Waluigi are there, and they're having a Mario Party, so, they got extra help. And so Bowser dies again, and Bowselta is knocked unconscious, but manages to wake up and locked in her own cell. So at this point, the story kind of diverges into 2 plots, and then at the end it dovetails back into one. We're going to continue on the Bowselta plot. So, the Bowselta side of the story is basically just her locked behind the dungeon. Her side of the story is more world building and exposition. So so it's really short compared to like the other plot, or the other plot is garbage. Basically, Bowselta talks about how, Koopas have to rule the world. It's not so much that she wants to rule the world, it's in their DNA. They have to rule the world. They want to, but then she starts to wonder what's all these campaigns, attacks against the Mushroom Kingdom worth if, morale is going down and becoming afraid of being, overthrown. So, and then she meets Fawful. Fawful helps her out, saying, "Hey, I'll help you if you give me the charm and some gold." You're like, "All right, I keep it." And she tricks him into not handing over the charm because she wants the charm. She likes the charm. It's the shiny. And so basically, she just rescues Bowser, F's everyone out of the Mushroom Castle, and then go home. All right, that's fine. And then they find out the Koopalings are missing again, which leads us to the more substantial plot. Like I said, there's not really much to talk about in the first plot because it's literally just world building and exposition. Like that entire Bowselta's side of the story is literally just there to set up events for Super Koopa World, and it just makes more sense to talk about in more detail that plot in that story because it really wouldn't make sense, and I'd be at risk of spoiling certain parts. So on the Koopaling side, the main bulk of the story is basically all the Koopalings. They're kind of getting tired. They're getting tired of just being bored over Bowser and Bowselda just going off saying, "Hey, we want to kidnap the princess." No, you don't. And then just coming home bruised and battered, and some of their troops dead. And so they want to help their mother and father with an anniversary gift to help them see, what can they do to take over the world. And so this is actually Ludwig's idea. He finds out he remembers a mirror, the special magic mirror that allows you to see what you can do to be given that goal. Like they want to help their mother and father, so the magic mirror sucks them up into this alternate dimension. And basically, what this alternate dimension is what would happen if Morton didn't die. In the previous stories, it was explained that Morton actually died from bad infrastructure and his castle collapsing on top of him, which coincidentally left Bowser alive in his egg. So this story that doesn't happen. Morton just basically, he's still alive, and he manages to take over the entire world, with the exception of the Waffle Kingdom. So, but they don't know that at the time. At the beginning, they just think, oh, why are there so many Kremlins here? Because, of course. And so they go back into the alternate version of Darkland when they discover Morton is still alive. There they meet Morton and Claudia's other children, Alexis and Luke and Bowser. Prince Bowser this time, not King Bowser, Prince Bowser. And Claudia's, nice and all the thing. Morton just immediately wants to kill the Koopalings because he kind of suspects he's very paranoid over the fact he doesn't want to be in a coop. And so he basically just, I'm gonna kill you, and then it's like, no, throw him in the dungeon. It's like, fine. And so they toss him in the dungeon. There they meet the alternate version of Bowselda, who was tortured for 15 years.
A miserable little pile of secrets.
Alright, whatever. I completely forgot the silence that. There they met Bowselda, who was tortured for 15 years. She's declawed, she's covered in scars, her larynx is destroyed. She has trouble speaking, and then Bowser shows up, rescues the Koopalings and rescues Bowselda. Says, I'm gonna get you out of here. I'm gonna send you home. I know you're my kids, simply because Junior's there, and it's like, you look like me, so you must be my children. Okay. Makes sense, logic. And so they try and head home, but Lagast, Morton, and Kamek, and Alexis, and Luke follow them. And then somehow Claudia shows up there. I don't know. It's not really explained how Claudia shows up. Morton at least has the decency. He's like, hey, I followed you while I had Kamek cloak us. I followed you. And how'd she get here? Oh, my wife? Wow, now it's not explained. I don't know. I'm here to stop you. How'd you get here? I don't know. The story demanded it. Story demanded I be here. And so Morton basically shut up sorry. Cast a spell that caused Claudia to turn into Giga Bowser, which I thought was nice. And then Bowser and Giga Bowser eats the Mario Brothers because they wanted, they were just lounging around, just wandering by, saying, hey, they're the Koopalings. Wait, what? And then, Giga Bowser eats them all. And then Bowser and Bowselda show up. Alexis and Luke, side with the Koopalings, saying, this is kind of going too far. And so Morton and Giga Bowser attack everyone. And then they find out that, they managed to kill Giga Bowser, but Morton revives him, so ha. And then the Koopalings discover that, Morton is connected with Giga Bowser, and they have to kill Morton to win the fight. So they manage to lure Morton underneath the cave head, where Boulder lands on him, and kills him. And so, everything goes out. So Bowselda's like, at the end, Balzelda's finally Balzelda decrees that we're gonna take a break. We're not gonna take over the world for a little bit, and so they decide to kind of hold a kind of a sort of withdrawal peace treaty sort of thing, where they don't really attack anyone until the events of Super Koopa World, where there's still stuff happens 7 years later. There's like a 7-year gap between this story and the next story. And so we're basically just, and then finally at the end we're giving a prophecy saying that the Koopas are going to take over the world. So, but it doesn't really explain. It just says Koopa takes over the world. That's it. And so we're kind of left on a kind of weird cliffhanger of of what happens, and overall the plot is very boring. Balzelda's side, I didn't even get to the second half of Balzelda's story because that would be more under characters than anything else. That's literally just exposition. It's literally just there to set up major events in Super Koopa World, which is fine. I mean, it deserves to be shorter than the Koopaling story, so it not being that long. Like, if you actually take a chance to look at the length of both sides of the story, Balzelda's side of the story is much shorter than the Koopaling side, but it really needed to be short. Like, you didn't need this ultra long, complicated side of the plot. It needed to be short. On the other hand, the Koopaling's plot needed to be far, far longer. For one thing, we didn't really get any development of the Koopalings outside of Roy and Ludwig. Most of the time, the Koopalings were just there, providing commentary, just mentioning stuff. It was really boring, and it didn't really have us care about the Koopalings. And again, the Koopalings are important to the plot, because in World, they become fully fleshed characters. But, the fact that it takes us 4 stories to get all the Koopalings to have character, to actually be more 3-dimensional, while in Queen of the Koopas, that one's excused because they were born. It's showing how they were born and stuff like that, and their quirks. That's fine. In Super Koopas, they're just there as a plot device. Well, in this story, they're finally here as characters, and 6 out of 8 of them get shunted for Roy and Ludwig. I get it. Ludwig and Roy are actually very important to the plot in Super Koopa World. They kind of actually join Balzelda and Bowser as the other 2 main characters, because of how important they kind of become to that story. More specifically, Ludwig. Ludwig kind of becomes the leader of the Koopalings, and the ones that kind of keep them together. But there's just no meat and potatoes, so to speak. It's just really there. I have absolutely nothing to say about that side of the plot, because it was boring. Like, I breezed through Balzelda's side of the story like that, but whenever I got to the Koopalings, it just dragged and dragged unnecessarily. I expected a slower paced side of the story, but this is a slower paced side of the story that has nothing, that is just so barren of anything, of any plot, of any characters, of any pacing. It's just, the author decided to breeze through the entire plot. And I get, when I talked to Wakazu years ago, before what happened to her happened. One of the things she was going to fix up Super Koopas 1 and this story. And one of the things she was planning on doing was just basically extending the Koopalings plotline, just exploring the world, getting more detailed characters, getting more in depth. And she was going to fix this. So, I had no complaints. She can't really work on the story anymore because, she kicked the bucket. But she wouldn't have it, but, she would respect the fact that, I'm calling this out. There's just really nothing. It's impossible to care about Morton's motivations or anything because he just shows up like in like two parts of the story, and he just acts evil for the sake of acting evil. We get nothing. I mean, we don't get motivations from true motivations for Morton outside of I'm evil. Okay, why are you evil? I don't know. I'm just evil. Okay. Are you just gonna describe what you did? No, because I'm evil. But but a story needs more than just evil for evil. Isn't there a trope called for the evils? Yes, but that's their reasoning, not their character. So I can't be evil for being evil and evil. Yes. Huh. Just stop. Stop. Got it. Okay. You want a bagel? I'll take a raisin. Go away, Morton. Okay then. I don't know where I was going with that. I don't know why I was doing that for some reason. It just happened. I'm weird like that. But again, there's nothing really substantial about the plot. And this is a story that needed to be lengthened, especially more specifically just Koopaling's plot. I don't know how long a story could last, but have nothing. It looks like it's a lot of words, but in actuality, it's just empty. So that's the plot. The characters. Most of the characters get shafted. Peach does offer some exposition behind the backstory of the humans and the Koopalings. Basically, long and short of it is the Koopas actually did rule the world years and years ago. And then the humans showed up in this from the portal from Earth, and they had all these weapons, and so they teamed up with the Mushroom Kingdom, and helped to drive off the Koopas. But the humans kind of became power hungry, and wanted to wipe the turtle Koopas, or the turtle people, as Toadsworth said, off the face of the Earth. So this lady named Koopa, that's just called Koopa, became a hero by driving off the humans enough that they kind of went home, and the turtle people became the Koopas as as homage to her heroics, and she became sort of a myth legend sort of figure, so to speak. And so there's that. The Koopalings, they get shafted except for Roy and Ludwig. Ludwig acts like the leader. He's like becomes the unofficial leader of the Koopalings. Makes sense. He's the oldest. He's the smartest. Well, Roy kind of becomes this brash guy who, over the course of the story, we kind of see he actually cares about his siblings, but he has a real military mind. He kind of mellowed out, so to speak. Like he likes, he actually plans things on the fly. So he kind of actually, he's actually very good pairing with Ludwig in this story. Morton, nothing. Luke and Alexis, nothing. Kamek, alternate reality, Bowser, and Kamek, nothing, because it's just not there. Cammy, Cammy's Cammy, nothing wrong. She didn't really change much. She becomes more important in the last story. She's barely here, so at least she has an excuse. Bowser kind of becomes slightly more mellow. He's still brash, but he becomes afraid that after the events of the mirror thing, Bowser becomes afraid of becoming like his father, like becoming this huge, hateful person that exonerates everyone, because he just becomes so full of hate that he becomes like nothing, and he's afraid of that. Hence why the 7-year time gap, because Bowser wants Bowser, the Koopalings, and Bowselta want to think things out and fix their kingdom before they try anything else. And so I thought Bowser was okay. Nothing substantial, but he was there. Now, Bowselta is an interesting case. Back to the first chapter. The first chapter I said I would talk about, and I'm going to talk about. So basically, a bit of backstory is necessary. Morton, in this reality, wanted to take over the world again because, the Koopas did rule the world, and he just basically wants that to happen again, but he had it for very selfish reasons. And so in order to, in his eyes, to help him take over the world, he basically took all the Darkland rulers, rulers of like Koopa Troopas, Paratroopas, stuff, etc., and he basically staged a coup d'etat. Now, coup d'etat is actually a term used for a group to overthrow a government, basically, or to annex themselves, depending on the context. Like if you played Mega Man X4, like the military force, the Rebel force, they were staging a coup d'etat because they wanted their own nation, and we're gonna. And so we're gonna leave the planet and start destroying stuff so that we can get our people out there and get our own nation. And so they were doing a coup. Basically, Morton was doing the same thing. He just said, "I'm the ruler of the world. You're no longer royals. Get the fuck out of here." And so he basically stripped every single royal outside of him out of their title. And so they kind of left. They kind of ran away. Balzello's parents were probably the ones who didn't like it, who kind of didn't let it go. To wit, they were obsessed with still thinking they were rich. So when they moved to this little town, supposedly they complained day and night over and over and over again for years and years and years over how, they're ex-royal, they want all this money, they deserve, they want to be pampered. They're basically condescending dirtbags who really pissed off the entire town, but we're the only people capable of doing a specific job at a specific place, and which they were still complaining about. And so, Bowzelda was born. Bowzelda wanted to be a tomboy, but her mother wanted her to be a girly girl because she wanted to still believe in the illusion that they're rich, despite the fact they're actually pretty poor. And so when the factory blew up and they died, the townsfolk took it out on Bowzelda simply because, well, they died, so we can't take it out on them anymore, so we're going to take it out on you. And so Bowzelda runs away and becomes something of a loner. Now, here comes the main reason, is not so much, of this, but her characters in previous. Like I mentioned before, that she's kind of a weird borderline case of a Sue character. And it's this backstory. What causes her to kind of skirt it. Unlike a lot of Sue characters who, are basically perfect just because of bad writing, Bowzelda is unique in she wanted to give this perception of being perfect to everyone. Like, she wanted to be unbeatable, smarter than everyone, better than everyone. Not because that she is perfect, but she was so desperate because of how, what happened throughout her life, that she wanted people to give the perception that she could never be beat, no matter what happened. So she wants to give people this perception that she is a Mary Sue, despite the fact she's not really a Mary Sue. And so she kind of becomes a weird character over the simple fact you don't know if she's a Sue character or not. Like I said, it flip-flops between throughout the story. But this is the farthest she gets away from a Sue character, because we finally get to realize that, she was, when she became homeless, she was still a kid. She wasn't even a teenager. She was still a kid. She was like, I believe 7, if I remember right. And so she vowed vengeance on Bowser, and she'll do whatever it takes to have people remember her name. She wanted to give everyone this perception that she's this untouchable figure that couldn't be beat, that couldn't be stopped, that doesn't matter what happens, she'll always have a plan to win in the end. And so that makes her something of a unique character, because she desperately wanted people to think she was a Mary Sue, but in actuality she's not. And over the course of the story, we see her actually failing and her actually becoming a fully fledged 3-dimensional character. Because of the simple fact, we do see her losing. We do see her reputation being hit, and her facing the reality that people are starting to not perceive her as being this perfect being. Despite the fact she tried her hardest and say, she wanted to be a background character, she wanted to hide in the shadows, she didn't want the public publicity, she just wanted to be the brains to Bowser's brawn. And she didn't want the spotlight. She didn't want people to know who she was because then her perception, her what she thought everyone wants her to be, this perfect being, will slowly fracture and fray and become human. She doesn't want people to think of her as human. She wants people to think of her as a god, as this perfect being that that can't be beat. And so a lot of her development throughout the series is her having to come with the fact that she is human. She can be beat. She can lose, and she'll have to eat her own words and have people realize that she's not invincible. I think that's an interesting case study. Like I said, I really like Bowzelda as a character. I really like the ideas behind her. She does. Sorry, saw a bug. I wanted to kill it. She does become, in Super Koopa World, there's like really iffy moments that I really didn't like. Particularly the ending. Sorry, spoilers for Super Koopa World. I didn't like that ending. I really didn't. And so we're getting all this development over Bowzelda wanting nothing more than, in her eyes, to win, because she always had everything taken from her. She, and bullied and scorched that, she wanted people to strike back. And so what better way to have people to be scared of her by giving away this perception that she can't be beat. Mary Sue's, of course, they're always perfect. Everything goes well for them. They can't, they're impossible. And hers is basically just this facade she's trying to force on everyone, while over the course of the stories, it's slowly chipping away. Like, people are slowly realizing that, she's not perfect. She's not a Sue. She's not a Mary Sue, It actually made, and I really like interesting characters kind of do things differently, but kind of still play the tropes. Like, I really like Valkyrie because she's a Sue, because of the same reason. It's just Valkyrie was much better at it simply because Wakasu's writing wasn't really good until Super Koopa World. I pushed my desk. Super Koopa World was just, you look at this story and you look at World, and it's like, why is the writing this good? The writing wasn't this good the previous story. Like, I was completely blown away when I read that story. When I first started reading World, and I was like, what is happening? But Bowzelda's an interesting character. I think, yeah, I'm probably gonna do a video kind of talk about not so much her, but the themes of the series. That's gonna be Afterworld. Pacing. I kind of already mentioned the pacing earlier. The Bowzelda side is short, but it's good. But the Koopaling side is just way too short for what the story is trying to accomplish. And stuff like that. Grammar. There were a couple grammar errors in the story. Nothing too bad. I think 2 or 3 grammar errors. If you're a grammar Nazi, then avoid the story. But if you're not, then just, final thoughts. Do I recommend the story? I'm not going to say until World, because, it's a series. I have to recommend the series or not. Favorite part, I did like the fight with Giga Bowser. It was a much better fight than with Kamek, because we actually saw, an actual fight, unlike everyone just running around and everyone's like, hey, we're doing stuff. But we're going to focus on Bowzelda, Kamek's arch nemesis and overall dastard. And she only gets wounded once. Well, in this story, she's completely just beat up to hell. And she actually took the most damage out of everyone. And I thought the execution was nice with them with the Koopalings deciding to aid out with dealing with Giga Bowser by taking out Morton. I thought that was done very nicely, and so you know, we had full stuff like that. Final thoughts. I think, like I said, this one it was just very boring. It was just there. A lot of the moments throughout the story, like there's a moment where it showed like Bowser is in the cage and she opens her fingers like this, and out pops a key, a special skeleton key that unlocks anything. That's going to be important in Super Koopa World. Uh, the prophecy is going to be important. A lot of the backstory with the war and Koopa's being driven back, that's going to be important. A lot of stuff is actually going to be important to Super Koopa World. However, it's just bogged down by so much boring, empty content that it just makes me wonder: was it even worth it? If I had to change anything, I would literally just extend the Koopaling side of the story. Nothing more, nothing else. Like, give us world building, like, on the backstory of that. Outside of, Morton was paranoid, and so he killed Peach and Mario and Luigi as soon as, when they were kids. Okay, that's it. Give us a personality. Give us something other than evil, just evil. That's it. Claudia, give us something with Claudia. Give us something with Luke and Alexis, because they were completely original characters that are only exclusive to this world because they're Bowser's brother and sister in this reality. But we don't know anything about them outside of their Bowser's siblings. That's it. Oh, we don't even have stuff with Kamek. I mean, I would have liked to see more stuff done in that reality. So that way we actually can get invested into characters like Luke and Alexis and Morton and Claudia. So we can, so we can hate Morton for what he does. It's just empty. It's just half of it's empty and half of it's just foreshadowing. So I will see you next time on the final story of the Super Koopa trilogy, Super Koopa World. I cannot wait to review that story. There's a lot to talk about with that story, especially what I have to say about the ending. I did not like that ending. But overall, this has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.